Currently, the UN lists 17 Sustainable Development Goals that are to be met by 2030. These goals were signed in 2015 by 193 countries, including Canada, and the goal I find most intriguing is number 13, to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. In my opinion, this is one of the most urgent goals because if we don't act now and dramatically decrease our greenhouse gas emissions, we will soon reach a point of no return where there will be devastating and irreversible effects on human well-being to the point that our survival might be at stake. We only have one planet, and we rely on it for all of our needs. If we destroy it, there's no going back. This goal is also about preventing things from getting worse, rather than improving upon where we are already at, unlike many of the other goals. This means that carrying on as business as usual will only cause more damage to human well-being. It will also eventually affect everyone, including people like me, who live in a rich, affluent country and are usually relatively unaffected by the problems that other sustainable development goals are trying to address. But what I think is most influential about this goal is that its progress determines the progress of many of the other goals. Climate change interacts with other goals in a top-down process. If climate goals aren't met, other goals will be more difficult, if not impossible, to reach. According to the Atlas of Sustainable Development Goals, climate change could push more than 100 million more people into poverty by 2030, the opposite of our goal of no poverty. Inequality will be deepened, as nations already experiencing extreme poverty will be affected substantially more than nations such as Canada, even though these higher-income nations are the ones creating the climate change problem in the first place. A recent article from The Guardian stated that rising sea levels and an increase in frequency and severity of weather-related disasters that are a result of climate change could cause the displacement of 150 million people, or in other words, 10% of the population by 2050. That's 27 times more people than the amount that the UN says have fled Syria. How can we expect to accommodate for 27 times more people when we are struggling to handle the refugee crisis right now? Finally, I believe it comes down to our moral obligation to be stewards to the planet. This development goal is one that not only affects humans, but affects all other life on Earth. We have a moral responsibility to protect the planet for future generations of humans and other species. We are at a pivotal point of time where the decisions we make in the next few years affects whether or not we achieve this goal. It is possible, but many people question whether or not we can actually come together and achieve it. This makes the goal all the more dynamic because if we do achieve our climate goals, it will be proof that the international community can work together to achieve very difficult things and maybe even achieve the other 16 goals too.